Part of the reason why I do these videos is partially to keep myself honest and also just to continue the conversation. Because when we talk about news, that's one thing, but we need to talk about how we, once the piece has come out, once the movie or the show or the song or whatever has come out and we've had time to digest and now we can talk about it and we can have an intellectual conversation about it. That's what this show is for. Welcome to That Just Happened. That's right. This is the show where, we interact with pop culture and talk about it. Instead of just reporting on, things that are going to happen or things that just got announced and et cetera, et cetera. So this week, again, I'm trying to keep myself honest with these videos, so I didn't do as much interacting as I had planned. We talked about the going forward last time. Some of that going forward is continuing through till next week. So first off, let's talk about what we did interact with. First thing is that I need to get off of my brain, and that is Kim Dracula. So we talked about the new single that was released from Kim Dracula in the main show. That just got posted a few days ago. And I have, since that song, I have got sucked into a little bit of a Kim Dracula rabbit hole and just crazy. All right, so this guy is Australian, I believe, blew up on TikTok and has a kind of neo-goth look to him, but the sound doesn't necessarily do that all the time. It's very much like music for people with ADD, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm drawn to it. But I don't know, I'm still trying to parse out what exactly I feel about this stuff. I'm very much drawn to it. So yeah, there's certain elements about it that just when we get to I'm trying to think of a specific example. In the "Make Me Famous" song, I believe something you would call the chorus, because again, all of the songs are so piecemeal. It's is that the chorus? Because he's repeated a couple of different things, but they all sound very separate from each other. Whatever. What I'm going to call the chorus, the part where he sings in the "Make Me Famous" song, is a little too MCR, My Chemical Romance, is a little too screamo for me, I think. And it's kind of those flourishes that I go, oh, do I like this though? But then he gets into the black metal sounding stuff and it's no, I dig this. And the production is done really well and it sounds like the character, the person behind the character rather, of Kim Dracula, sounds like largely he is the one that does all of the stuff. And in the video for Make Me Famous, I'm pretty sure it might have been the 70 Thorns. 70 Thorns, I'm pretty sure, is the video where he does the drum solo. He kicks his drummer off the kit and then plays a solo at the end of the song. And that's super freaking impressive. And this is going to be taken wrong, but so in the early days when Kid Rock was, something to be, that was getting big, I guess, I very specifically remember watching a video of him performing, and he did something similar, but for every other musician on the stage. He played the drums. Not exactly the most accomplished drummer. It wasn't a drum solo. Definitely wasn't as impressive as the Kim Dracula stuff, but he still played the drums. He played the guitar. He played the bass. He even took some time on the turntables before he got into the vocals for the song. So that was impressive. I feel like the Kim Dracula stuff is much more impressive, but in the same kind of line. So I don't know, just ADD moment. I had to make the comparison. So yeah, Kim Dracula, let's talk about that in the comments section because I'm still parsing it out. Next, I went to see one of my favorite comedians live, and that is Brian Regan. It was a birthday present from my ever-loving girlfriend, and it was pretty freaking awesome. Not as great as I wanted him to be live because he was working out new material, And a fair amount of the new material worked pretty well. Some of the jokes fell flat. I think a part of the issue was the room wasn't great. And a part of the issue was I'm the only one that laughed at the chest joke. Oh, it's still funny to me. But yeah, Brian Regan's honestly one of the anytime I see his name, I'm very, very inclined to click, if you will. Just because he's super clean, so you can play him for your parents or for, you know, a 10-year-old and not feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't because like questionable language or questionable subject matter. Sometimes the subject matter is a little dark, but it's still pretty much acceptable for anyone of any age, of any real belief system even. He's just a very universal talent, and I love Brian Regan. He did a lot of material off of his last two Netflix specials as well, which was funny to see live, and I really, again, love Brian Regan, but I was hoping for a little bit more of a original set. And also the one thing, all of that would have been forgiven if, and I know he doesn't do this anymore, but I was hoping maybe he would, I was misremembering that fact, and he did still come out after the show for the encore and do call outs, you know, ask people in the audience what old bits they wanted to hear. And I know that's very contradictory of me to say because I just got done saying he did a fair amount of stuff, or a bit of stuff anyway, from his previous two stand-ups. But like, I'm talking about the classic bits. He used to come out on stage and people would be like yelling from the crowd, "Take luck," or "Spelling bee," or "Hooked on phonics," or, you know, something along those lines. Pretty much stuff from his first stand-up special. I was hoping for that because I really wanted to see those bits delivered live by the man who wrote them. So yeah, which brings up a really weird concept that I've kind of had in my brain for a number of years, and I'm putting it out there on the internet just to see what happens. I think an interesting idea would be something. So you get cover bands a lot. You get what's the word when they do all cover tribute bands? When you get a band that does tributes, that they call them tribute bands because they only do covers of this one band. Or there's a tribute band called, I can't remember what it was, but they do covers of two specific bands. But I'm specifically thinking of a cover band. If we could have like the equal to that in the stand-up world, I think that would be an interesting concept. Not necessarily, and go into it because that's a big faux pas in the community, in the comedy community, is you don't want to steal other people's material. But if you go in and announce, none of these jokes are my own, I got all of these jokes from other comedians, and if you're interested, after the show, I can tell you who each comedian is, but you still write a set based on that is other people's jokes, but is a plethora of other comedians' material. I think that's an interesting challenge in and of itself, and also shows a different set of skills for comedy, right? Like, you can get all of these different jokes by all of these different comedians, all about how work sucks, or all about the battle of the sexes, or all about this and that and X, Y, and Z. And then you write a set with a million different comedians' jokes. I think that's an interesting concept. But again, you should be 100% transparent and say, I am a cover comedian. I think that's an interesting thought, right? So I don't know. Again, sharing that because Brian Regan. Let me know what you think, and we'll move on into the show some more. I watched Black Adam this week as well. Black Adam. Oh boy, I had to see how much of it was hype, how much of it was haters, and how much of it was like a legit movie. And for the first third of the movie, it's not that bad, right? It was totally passable as a mediocre DC movie, which is kind of saying something because most DC movies were sub-mediocre up until a certain point. It was no Aquaman, it was definitely no Batman, but it was passable for a while. And then we got to the running gags, which killed it for me. And then we got to the mischaracterization of Hawkman as the leader of the JSA. I have zero issue with the race swapping because the nature of the character allows for such things, and he comes from Egypt, so it only makes sense. Or was it Egypt? Yeah, I think that's right. So it only makes freaking sense that, or at least Mesopotamia in some way, it only makes freaking sense that eventually he would reincarnate as a different skin tone and not always be white. Yeah, so that I have zero issue with. I do have issue with him being Bruce Wayne in some weird way as the leader of the Justice League, and like, I don't know, his powers are based on practical means and not the mythical stuff that is Hawkman. And yeah, so it's not just haters. That is not a good movie. Not even like mediocre after a certain point. Just Black Adam. Black Adam does not do silly puns, does not do silly little jokes. He's just a pretty dark character. Like, that's one of the times where it's like, yeah, it makes sense to have at least, maybe not the whole movie, because, you know, that doesn't make sense. But it makes sense to have this character in this movie be pretty stoic and serious the entire time, not tell him the Man in Black sent you. That's just dumb. Dumb. So yeah, I know I'm late to the party on this, but that was by design because I didn't want to, I just didn't want to buy into that conversation until this moment. So there you go. That's what we got. As far as going forward, what I intend to do this week, at some point I'm going to watch Winnie the Pooh. I'm trying to watch the Mean One as well, the Grinch horror movie. So yeah, there's that. But that's all we got for this week's That Just Happened, nerds. What did you interact with this week? What do you think we should talk about going forward in the next That Just Happened episode? All of that and more. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Before we go, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.